It's the Field of 68 Best Bet Show presented by BetRivers. We are the three-man weave. I'm Kai. You got Jim. You got Matt sporting the FAU Winning in Paradise shirt. I'm sporting a Gonzaga shirt. That's right. Ooh, tip my hand on who I like today in that matchup. Maybe, maybe. Good teaser for the show. Great intro. Jim, takeaways from yesterday. We know we got a chili cook-off coming up. That's right, the weave. Chili cook-off, baby. We're going to eat some chili. It's going to be awesome. What were your takeaways from yesterday?
Kai, my takeaway is that everybody's paying attention to Marquette winning the Big East, but the other Golden Eagles are my sweetheart of the day. Southern Miss gets it done, wins the Sun Belt outright thanks to Marshall falling at Old Dominion. 200-1, Kai. I am riding high on my Southern Miss preseason future win there. Thought it was dead after they lost at Old Dominion, but the Monarchs, really big late end of the season homestand there. Just got to tip my cap, I guess, Matthew, to Southern Miss. Got to celebrate it. What's your takeaway?
Yeah, that's a great story. If anyone doesn't know, like the whole Jay Ladner turnaround brings in who is a special assistant. I forget his name. Just a really cool development there and how they just completely resurrected that program. And that place has basically been sold out the last few weeks. Into that takeaway, Jim. Kai, my takeaway. Didn't really have one, I'll be honest, but really shocked that Xavier blitzed Seton Hall. I thought Hall was going to give them the fight, and they just did not. So Xavier continues to play pretty well despite a cumulative effect of injuries so far.
Yeah, they lost at home to Nova too. They are very up and down.
Up and down team, Matthew. Well, one of my takeaways was the craziness at the Sun Belt, because not only did Southern Miss win in their first year in the league, Marshall lost to ODU and fell from number 1 and number 3 in the standings. So Louisiana got the tiebreaker over them. So a little bit of jumbling at the top of the standings. They still get a bye in the tournament. Sun Belt tournament is set, as is I think a couple other tournaments. ASUN is set.
ASUN. Kennesaw State clinched that yesterday.
Yeah, we're starting soon, man. I can't wait. Other one real quick, Florida Gulf Coast scored 62 points in the first half against Austin Peay and then scored 27 in the second. College basketball, man. Love it. You got to love it. All right, let's get into today's games. We're starting off with a doozy in Baylor, Texas at Baylor. Baylor laying 4, Matthew. A little bit of money for Texas coming in. Both teams still in play for a 1 seed. Texas's path more difficult, but more certain, I would say, for a 1 seed. They have 3 Q1A games left. Baylor, a couple Q1 games, if you want to put it that way. Who do you like in this game?
I think I like Baylor. The price is about accurate, though. It's hard to really jump to Baylor with any sort of conviction, given how unreliable I'll say they've been the last couple of games, and even in their 4-game win streak before that. I think it's like we're all just projecting their defense to be all the way back to what we thought it would be because they have Mr. Cha-Cha back on the back line, but still the holes have been popping up left and right. They certainly did at Kansas and Kansas State. So with that and the way Texas continues to prove that they're a top-end Big 12 team without a whole – I mean, there's inconsistency all throughout this league, right? But Texas hasn't done anything to really show that they have fallen from the level that they were earlier, Jim. I think the line's about right, all things considered. I was really eager to bet Baylor, but I think 4 is too pricey. I think I need 2 or 3 to bet Baylor.
Yeah, I don't love it at 4. I took it at 3 for the Circa contest, Matthew. I really like the spot for Baylor off a couple of road losses. Previously last weekend, that hideous second half against Kansas, about as bad as a top team has played so far this year. Credit to Kansas as well. But back home here, I think they can take care of business against Texas. First game, Timmy Allen kind of gave them the business. The old switching too much. That was kind of the origination of that take for me. It was Timmy Allen just decimated the smaller guards and like the mid post on switches. That's still a little bit of a concern. But Baylor's been really good at home this year, and I think those guards start knocking down more shots. Kai, I'm liking Baylor at 4, far less enthusiastically, but still lean their way.
Yeah, game 1 was all Texas. Baylor's defense let it down, and we talked about how they've had a lot of defensive improvement that didn't really hold against Kansas and K-State. Obviously, 2 really good teams in tough spots, but still, it was disappointing to see. I also lean Baylor here at home. It is a good spot, in my opinion. They have a tough home court, and like I've said a few times, Scott Drew, his adjustments, I really trust him as a coach. But I agree. The line's a tad too high at 4. I stayed away. Next one, the rematch in the WCC, St. Mary's at Gonzaga. This spread's getting up there, Jim. Gonzaga now laying 5.5. I think it's Gonzaga's game. They haven't gotten a lot of press this year, but still quietly top 15 in the country. Best offense in the nation. Who do you like tonight?
Man, number leans St. Mary's for me, but like everything else, like every single other thing leans Gonzaga for me. they really controlled that first matchup. I was relatively lucky to get a St. Mary's outright win there. I think Gonzaga struggles most with teams that can score, can put up points, take advantage of their lack of interior rim protection, perimeter defense. Like they're just kind of weak on that end. St. Mary's not a super explosive squad. Matt, Gonzaga maybe had a little bit of trouble with the way that St. Mary's plays ball screens. Like Rasir Bolton did nothing in the first game. Julian Strother really struggled because they don't help off of shooters. So those guys didn't really get many open looks. But Drew Timme had a fairly big game. If you get Mitchell Saxon in foul trouble, St. Mary's defense really struggles. We saw that against LMU earlier this season. So I do lean Gonzaga here. I just think they're kind of trending up, incentivized to win big, and have the athletic edge and not going to get punished by St. Mary's offense.
I agree. And I think St. Mary's offense, while, precise, fun to watch when clicking and shots are falling, they've certainly been prone to super annoying scoring droughts if you've backed them as a favorite. And their prices they've been laying recently have just been insane. Now, yeah, they just boat race Pacific. Look at that San Diego game 3 games before. They had a scoring drought against BYU. The next game out. So while the Zags defense isn't as vaunted as we've seen in years past, I think St. Mary's offense is the kind of overlooked part of this handicap, in that it's still really good, but it's definitely vulnerable. And I think it's being a little bit overpriced into their overall, metrics right now. I guess they're sitting at 40th in the country. I actually think they're a little bit worse than that, just given how reliant they are on their execution. And you're still leaning heavily on Mahaney Kai, who's a freshman at the end of the day. I agree. I think it's a Zags game. I took him first half and full game small. I wouldn't go anything above 5.5 on the full game. I think first half's probably the better look here.
Yeah, just to kind of pile on to my Gonzaga's getting no press, but they're really good this year. 3 of their 5 losses for the season. 1 point to LMU, 1 point to Baylor on a neutral, overtime St. Mary's. If they win those 3 games, which they easily could have, they're a 1 seed in the NCAA tournament again. It's kind of crazy how they've been kind of just pushed aside because they're not elite this season. They did lead by 8 in the second half in Moraga. I think they get the job done tonight. Mahaney was a madman for sure in game 1, but Timme also had his way against St. Mary's. Really hard to do against the St. Mary's squad, but I think he's got their number. So I lean towards the Zags, even at the high number. Moving on to Matt's alma mater, Indiana. They're heading to Purdue. Purdue is laying 7. Matt, I'll say this, the line feels high. I love Mackey. I think Purdue wins, but it's hard to lay 7 here. Weirdly, though, I will say this. Weirdly, Purdue's only 6-7 against the spread at home this season.
They've been a lot better as of late. Their last, I think, 3 or 4 they've covered, but I think they've played good. They've gotten those wins and covers in good spots. Obviously, Ohio State's basically a lame duck team at this point, most recently winning by 30 or something. Yeah, Kai, I just missed the money coming on Indiana. I was sitting at 7.5 all morning. Does BetRivers have 7? I kind of like that. If you have a BetRivers account, if you don't, open one.
Just got down to 6.5.
Yeah. They're watching the show. I think Indiana is the right play here. I got a little bit of 7.5. I think it's competitive. I think they had a good game plan out last game, Jim. And Purdue is still a team that I think is slightly overpriced to the market, given their slightly imbalanced schedule in the Big Ten. Yes, Mackey's a different beast. And yes, I will not endorse with confidence fading a Big Ten home team. So 71-41 against the spread. Reminder.
I think 71-44 now with 2 nights.
Oh, yeah, because they went 1-3. Yeah. Road teams.
Yeah, there you go. It's the revolution is coming. I still lean towards Purdue here. I actually think the way when I talk myself into it, given how much I think Mackey is worth, like 4.5, possibly 5 points, I think the line's actually fairly correct. I think Purdue is 2 to 3 better than Indiana on a neutral floor, despite the outcome of that first game. I think that was a lot to do with such a great home atmosphere. Mark Titus has says it. He likes when they're like a very slight home dog at IU. That's when you get your best atmosphere there. I think the Edey dominance is repeatable. Again, Kai, there's going to be a big deal with if either big man gets in foul trouble early, that could completely swing the game. Given that it's at Purdue, I tend to think they will get the slightly better whistle. I just like this Purdue team at home way, way better than I like it on the road. I still lean their way. Even at 7, I think they make a statement that they are firmly entrenched on the 1 line.
Yeah, and though they are ATS-wise not great at home this season, they're a lot better. They've lost 3 of 5, Purdue, and maybe that's kind of in people's heads. All 3 of those games were on the road. They do play much better at Mackey. The guards certainly seem to settle down. That first matchup was awesome, by the way, Indiana-Purdue. Indiana handled it the whole way. I think that was more so the spot. I think that was more so the atmosphere. But Edey had 33 and 18 in the losing effort. I think their guards play a lot better. I think they take care of the ball better. Purdue was very sloppy in game one. Also shot horribly from the free throw line. Not great from three. I think we see a better effort. Again, it's too high for me to lay, but I lean towards Purdue. I think they're going to win this game. Next one, Virginia at North Carolina, the UNC Tar Heels on the outside looking in right now, Jim, the NCAA tournament. They're laying 3 against Virginia, who has tumbled down analytical rankings down to 33rd in KenPom. They were number 15 10 days ago. A 2-point home win against Notre Dame, a loss to BC by 15 has caused them to tumble. I think 10 days ago, this spread would have been closer to pick. Now they're +3. What are your thoughts?
It's up to 5. Our friends at Rash just bet UNC, which I actually agree with, and I'll talk about why. Jim, 5 is a fair number.
4.5 at BetRivers. That's too high. Jim.
Yeah, it's probably too high. I don't trust North Carolina. I don't really see why you would. They had the one nice home win against Clemson where they shot the ball really, really well. That's not super repeatable. They're shooting 28% in league play, dead last in ACC from deep. That's a problem against the pack line. I think you can punish them inside this current version of Virginia that's not playing Caden Shedrick. So Baycott could actually have a pretty large game going against Gardner and Vanderplas inside. I just don't trust Virginia at all right now.
Right.
Kai, you mentioned the 2-point win against Notre Dame, the loss to BC. They also beat Louisville by 3. Our buddy Pete texted me that might be the worst 3-game stretch by a good team in a long time. Like a team that's a top 3 seed in the reveal. All 3 of those efforts are absolutely hideous. So yeah, Matt, I kind of buy that the current form of Virginia is circling the toilet seat, and I get people that are betting North Carolina.
I do too. The one issue, the reason I guess I'm not going to back UNC here, and I'm kind of tempted to even at the still price. I'm with Jim on the UVA thing is circling the drain. Look at their splits though. They tend to play down to their competition, which is a trend I think we've noticed with Tony Bennett teams. They've not been super talented. I think their style and execution, Jim, kind of like you say, Wisconsin, they're never going to be out of any game. They're always going to rise well, but they can certainly drop to a lesser team because they don't have that talent to overwhelm you. And I think that's what you need to put teams away with conviction. But yeah, Louisville, Notre Dame, Boston College, last 3, 1 by 3, 1 by 2, lost outright. Before that, Kai beat Duke at home, covered an OT. I know it was a BS call, whatever. Beat NC State handily by 13. How good has NC State been? I mean, they lost at Virginia Tech, but then won at Syracuse, won at Wake, beat Virginia Tech by 18. So, I mean, they played well in the big games of ACC play, mostly to date. But I think the last 3 games, there's more of a, red flag that this UVA thing is not going the right direction.
Yeah, they won game 1 by 5 at home. UNC was competitive in that game up in the second half. They also didn't have Pete Nance. Also, Baycott played 1 minute in that game. So these are points in UNC's favor. By the way, big game from Jalen Washington in that game. He's barely played since. That's kind of a curious thing about Hubert Davis there. But as expected, in that game, UNC bombed away from 3, man. 8 for 24 from 3. The guards are going to be tempted all day to take threes over the pack line. And we know when they're shooting like that, they can miss a lot of shots. Love and Davis do not take good shots. In my opinion, from a maturity perspective, it's men versus boys. It's Virginia's well-oiled, disciplined team. UNC is erratic, not mature, still willing to take bad shots. 4.5, I'm leaning towards Virginia. Again, like I said, this spread's a lot lower 10 days ago, and I'm not sure Virginia all of a sudden became a bad team in the last 10 days.
Couple extra quick points, Kai. I totally agree that Baycott playing 1 minute is a massive hurt for UNC. Mm-hmm. I don't know that not having Pete Nance matters. That man's confidence is shattered right now. Tuch asked about the total. I don't know if either of you guys have any read on that matchup. I think leans under. Virginia controlling tempo. Neither team can shoot that well, but some of the number stuff I look at leaned over. I think I'd be more of an under guy there if I had to be.
Lean under. First game played 63 possessions. I probably doesn't play a whole lot faster. Yeah. Chat mob, part 1. Jim, we're already here. What do we got?
We're going right to Matt because Joey is in early in the chat delivering his Mac questions. Matt, good. Ball State -7.5 at the Fighting Amani Bateses. Still kind of in the running to get into the MAC tournament. Eastern Michigan, they need to get into the top 8. Do you think they are able to pull an upset against Ball State, who just had a huge win over Kent State?
Yeah, tough spot for Ball State. I think it's a good spot for Eastern Michigan. But man, I just can't back this team right now. I know they got the win against Western Michigan, but I'm just still torn from the Akron Kent State demolitions before. I don't think Eastern Michigan can rise and play against the best teams in the MAC. I think this year Ball State is not quite at the Kent State Akron Toledo level, but they're creeping closer to that. And I think Ball State's high alert after Eastern Michigan almost beat them in overtime first meeting.
Yeah, Ball State got a big boost last game from Jalen Wyndham. Actually, gave them 20 minutes for the first time in a really long time. Kai, Colgate -2 at Navy. They have fully clinched this league. I don't know that Navy has a ton of seeding worry here for the tournament, but do you have any read on this game?
Boy, I hate fading both teams, Jim and the Patriot. It seems like a bad idea to do either. Lean towards Colgate. Always have to lean towards Colgate. I think we've said their historical Patriot ATS record last 5-6 years. It's really impressive. I lean towards Colgate.
Matthew, Casey Tominaga, does he keep rolling at home? Nebraska laying 8.5 against Minnesota, who's playing their third game this week.
Terrible spot. Nebraska laying 8. I'm not all the way there on Nebraska, Jim. I lean that way, but I'm not that excited to back my Huskers.
Kai, how about Northern Kentucky? -2.5. They are at Oakland. Two different zone teams here that are, maybe kind of a weird matchup against each other. Rocket Watts is back for Oakland. Do you think that helps or hurts? What do you think?
I lean towards NKU. I think this is going to be the typical Norse get really good at the end of the year type of thing, run through the Horizon tournament, make the tournament. So I like NKU -2.
I agree there. Matt, ACC, Notre Dame and Wake Forest. Demon Deacons laying 6.5 at home against the Irish. Actually, that sounds wrong. Is that at Notre Dame? No,
it's at Wake.
It's at Wake.
Yeah, it's at Wake.
Somebody in the chat pointed out that Wake got down early, 12, and ended up winning by 17 in the first matchup. So 30-point swing. What do you think here of the Deeks?
And now they're without Damari Mansana, who's a phenomenal shooter. I think they're going to miss him badly. Yep. Good point, Jim. I forget, it was Rex Byers. You're one of your competitors in the Circle Pool. Had a really good case for Notre Dame last night. I was pretty sold. I just think down the stretch, they're playing a little bit better. A bunch of 5th, 6th-year seniors under Bray. I think they're going to be feisty down the stretch. If you just bet every game Notre Dame here the rest of the year, I bet you make money.
They've been very good against the spread lately. At Duke, at Virginia, sticking around. So we are holstering Creighton and Villanova for best bets. That's coming later. Kai, TCU at Texas Tech. The Red Raiders rolling. Now they're 2-point favorites at home against the Horned Frogs.
Yeah.
Rumors of a possible Bacho return. I think Pat in the chat said he's not going to be back. But they still have Isaacs and Amac. Is that enough to beat TCU?
I'll be honest. I probably would have made TCU pick or favorite in this game just slightly. However, I'm not going against Texas Tech, man. I really think they're kind of a team of destiny right now. The way they've been playing lately, they've been very impressive with Amac back in the lineup. They're streaking. They obviously need to keep winning to make the tournament. Texas Tech is a really tough place to play. So I'm staying fully away in this game. My number and my heart do not agree in this game.
Yeah, I'm with Matt, TCU, but I get it.
My number says TCU as well, but I'm no thanks.
Right now, that team is rolling. Kai, going right back to you because I know you have an opinion here from Tinley Monk. Texas A&M at Mississippi State. Does Stark Vegas take down the rolling Aggies train?
I think they do. I like Miss State here. Annoyingly, this one flipped to them as a favorite, which I think is correct. When they opened as a dog, I was a little surprised. I get it from the perspective of, A&M's been really hot lately. But I like Miss State here. Again, another team that's back against the wall type mentality. Does it matter that much in terms of ATS? Probably not, but a good narrative to kind of speak about here. I think they can force turnovers, and I think Chris Jans brings out a good game plan. I think Miss State gets it done.
All right, Matt, in the OVC, your favorite league, Morehead State laying 5 at home against UT Martin. Morehead just clinched the title by beating Eastern Illinois this week. I'm sure there were celebrations. They cannot be caught for the 1 seed. Does that motivation angle just make you lean towards UT Martin?
Yeah, kind of lame duck spot here, but and I forget what Martin has to play for on their end. I felt a little short given how well Morehead's playing, I'll be honest. And even though Martin will have relatively more motivation, they're still, I think, in the mindset of the conference tournament is our season too. So I don't think you have some massive discrepancy in motivation here. That said, I still lean our Skyhawks.
Yep, I think there's at least incentive okay, can we beat the top team in the league?
It's true.
Morehead's whatever. Kai, Tennessee Tech at Eastern Illinois, staying in that same league. Tennessee Tech -1. They torpedoed my Southern Indiana best bet a couple nights ago by being absolutely scorching from beyond the arc, but they actually have been an awesome shooting team all year. So, yep.
Yeah, I think it's short. -1. I like Tennessee Tech. I think they're a lot better than EIU. A lot better. OVC home has been really good this season, but I lean towards Tennessee Tech -1.
All right, Matt, I know you like this game from Pat. Utah Valley -2 at Abilene Christian. You taking the Wolverines?
Take the Wolves. Yeah, they're pretty mad. They just got, as I was saying earlier, they got caught in this stupid rock fight with Tarleton. Now they get to come up for air and breathe and play I guess a similarly feisty and pressure-inducing team with ACU, but not nearly as wrestling matches as we see with the Tarleton. I think they roll today. Bounce back spot here on the road. Just the better team. I think they outclass ACU.
Let's do a couple more before we go back to the outline. Matt, back to you here, actually. UC San Diego just beat UC Irvine.
Yep.
Now they're hosting UC Santa Barbara. The Gauchos at 5.5-point favorite on the road.
It's one of those teams. LaSalle, I tried to do this with UC San Diego. I'm talking out both sides of my mouth. I want to do it today. I kind of want to keep riding this juju that they're on, but terrible spot here with UC Santa Barbara. I think they're angry today. Too short of a number to take my my Tritons, but I think it would be wise to keep riding this wave. They got something going right now.
Yeah, seems like it. And Santa Barbara not playing that great of late.
And also down 2 guards, I think, too. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Pat's last question, Louisiana Tech at Middle Tennessee. This number's been hammered. I got 6 in the circuit contest last night. It's now 8.5, Middle Tennessee laying that. Louisiana Tech 0-3 against the spread without Kobe Williams.
Yeah.
Middle Tennessee has had a week off, which I think is really important for getting ready for this one. But I wouldn't lay 8.5. That's maybe a little, just a bridge too far, too steep. I can't quite get there. All right, one more, Kai. Michigan State at Iowa. Hawkeyes -5.5, some 6 in some places. People are really loving the Big Ten home team here. The splits between home against the spread numbers and Michigan State road against the spread numbers pretty stark. What are you thinking?
Yeah, I don't like to go against home court here, but I think the number's a tad high. I'd probably lean towards Michigan State on the number. Similar case to Purdue, Indiana. I'm staying away because I do respect Iowa's home court. They're actually very good at ATS-wise at their home floor. So staying away.
Yep, agreed. All right, plenty more questions, upwards of 15 that we will hit in Chat Mob Part 2. But Kai, back to the outline.
All right, let's tip off with San Diego State at New Mexico, a gigantic game for the Lobos. San Diego State, by the way, Jim, quietly awesome, ascending to top 15 status, which is where we thought they'd be preseason. They're a 6th seed right now, but New Mexico has work to do. Those 2 Q4 losses without House. It's pretty tough to come back from that from a bracketology perspective. Who do you like in this game? New Mexico, 3-point dogs.
Yeah, can they maintain dominance? If you sweep San Diego State, suddenly you have a much better case for the NCAA tournament, hopefully offsetting some of the bad losses that they've taken recently. Kai, if I told you San Diego State is awesome defensively, would you just nod and say, of course?
Yes.
But if I told you they had the best offense in the Mountain West, would you say, hey, that's kind of surprising?
I would say, yeah, that's kind of surprising, Jim.
Yeah, how about that? So the Aztecs have been scoring. Darian Trammell has definitely given them a bit of a boost. They're shooting the 3 like crazy. Adam Seiko has given them such a weapon off the bench, sometimes starting. I actually lean San Diego State here, Matt. I think they are ascending. New Mexico State sort of descending, or excuse me, New Mexico. How dare I confuse that? I know I will get skewered by both fan bases for that. But I lean towards the Aztecs on the road, Matthias.
I agree. Do I want to lay 3 though, Kai?
Maybe
not with New Mexico healthier. And I think we've talked about how they've been sort of undervalued, shockingly, the whole year, just finding a way to like barely cover spreads and not fully bake in their performance or caliber into the market. And then they kind of have the setback with the injuries. I could argue it's still a little bit, that they are still underpriced, but I'm with Jim. I think the stronger force here for me is San Diego State, the way they're playing. And I just think they're so balanced. That's what makes them so dangerous. We haven't really seen that before from this team. So I like the Tex on the road.
If you're a spot believer, I think the spot it can't get much better than New Mexico right here. Q1 opportunity at the pit against the best team in the league. I just think it's a huge spot, and you're a dog as well. I do like New Mexico. They beat San Diego State earlier this year. They won by 9, led by 13, led the entire way, wire to wire against San Diego State at San Diego State. That's impressive. House Mashburn combined for 51 points in that game. They rock. I think they can do it again. I like New Mexico +3 here.
The atmosphere is going to be fantastic.
Yes. All right. Next one is Kansas State at Oklahoma State. A sneaky good matchup, Matt, in the Big 12. Or any Big 12 matchup sneaky, though. They're all good. We know this. Big 12, their conference rocks. Oklahoma State is laying 3. Little surprise number. I think money's come in a little bit on Oklahoma State. Surprises me just a tad. What are your thoughts?
want to take Oklahoma State, but don't want to lay 3 with a team that has looked pretty incompetent in terms of, perimeter scoring, guard play. It's a very lopsided roster without Avery Anderson. I kind of thought they'd be able to patch together a decent, guard collection without him, but those mid-major transfers just really haven't been as good as we hoped. And when you take Anderson away, I think it really strips their offense. K-State is a much more mortal team away from home, as many of these Big 12 and Big 10 teams are, Jim, but still too much conflicting on both sides. I think the price is about right. So easy stay away from me here.
Yeah, price definitely is the hesitant part for me, but I like Oklahoma State in the spot. I have said I kind of like fading Kansas State second time through the order of Big 12 play. Now they've won 2 games in a row at home. They beat Baylor, they beat Iowa State, but on the road, that gives me some real pause. So Kai, definitely a lean to Oklahoma State. I think they can kind of frustrate that 2-man game that K-State really thrives on. They've got some guys to throw at Noel and Johnson, but not going to lay 3.
It's really hard to figure out what level this Oklahoma State team is at without Avery Anderson fully. So they've lost 3 in a row. I think they're 0-3 against the spread as well, but it was road TCU, road West Virginia, home against Kansas. It's a pretty tough 3-game stretch. And before that, they won 3 games straight without Avery Anderson, and they covered. The truth probably lies in the middle, but I worry about Oklahoma State's number 1 scoring, number 2 ball handling against Kansas State without Avery Anderson. I do trust the home court, though. It's very tough. And again, if you believe in narratives, this is huge for their tournament implications. They're falling really, really close to the cut line, Oklahoma State. They need this win. Kansas State's still in play for even a 2 seed. You could argue they need it as well, but I'm staying away in this one. All right, next one here is Arkansas at Alabama. Yes, this game fell way down the list here on the rundown. Jim, Arkansas is catching 8.5 point dogs to Alabama. We know about the off the court issues. Who do you like in this one?
I like Arkansas. Me and the rest of the 6 billion population of planet Earth.
Yep,
or trillion, whatever it is. It's just this version of Arkansas is much better than the other versions. The Nick Smith in the starting lineup playing 25-30 minutes a game. He had 26 points last game out. He is really starting to round into form and look like a lottery pick. And speaking of which, Brandon Miller, great on the other side, 41 points, but the rest of the team did not help him out very much in OT at South Carolina. The rest of the team went 1 for 14 from 3. I worry that maybe the noise surrounding the team is going to affect Miller's teammates even more than him, where they're having to answer questions and are worried about his fate, kind of all that stuff that's going on. So given the ascending trajectory that Arkansas is on and this kind of shaky status of Alabama, Matt, I have to lean Razorbacks here.
Yeah, I'm a square as well, Jim. I bet Arkansas plus 8.5. Precarious. There's been 0 movement on this, Kai. It's held steady. It's sitting 8.5 across the board. There's some resistance, and I certainly understand it, right? Like, can't you just see screw the external noise. We're going to go out and prove that we're the legit dominant team that we've shown all season, especially after that near loss to South Carolina. And this price is no bargain given the level that Alabama's played to, even with the current resurgence from Pig Suey. So I certainly understand why this number has not moved, but I still think the overriding edge here is the whole Bama off the court circus thing, which I just think it has a higher chance to be a negative than a positive. So I did take Pig Suey.
I understand it from the perspective of Alabama's home court is ridiculous this year. They're 9-4 against the spread, plus 13 cover margin.
Yeah, blowouts.
But I don't get it in the fact that I don't know how you can look at this Alabama program right now and not think that they're clearly being affected. You don't have a 2-point game with South Carolina in overtime if you're not being affected by off the court issues. I know Miller had a great game, but I still think it's permeating through the locker room a little bit. They're thinking about it. They're not fully focused on the game at hand. But also on the other side, hey, Arkansas has been playing pretty well lately. And by the way, Nick Smith is back and he's playing great. When he plays over 20 minutes, Arkansas is 6-1 against the spread. They're a really good team. And there's no way that him being back has been fully accounted for in this line. Why? KenPom has this game 8. The market has it 8. KenPom, his algorithms, Nick Smith's played 8 games all season. There's no way his impact is fully baked into this. So I think the line, there's value for the Razorbacks here. It's my best bet at plus 8.5. So Arkansas plus 8.5. We're locking it in. Next one, Auburn at Kentucky. Kentucky is laying 5.5 to the Tigers. Matthew, one team's rolling, One team is Auburn. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, well, my take on Auburn. I've been on record with them as a quasi fade all season. However, their defense is all the way legit. I think you have to at least accept that you cannot score with them on the rim, and I think the way they attack the offensive glass, even when their guards are erratic and not making shots, they've still played to a higher level than I think even I expected. Yeah, some money coming in on Kentucky here, betting this up to 5. Some money on the under as well from 144 to 141. Kind of gives me the sense that Auburn controls the tempo, but I think their offense sputtering in a half-court game is what ultimately gives Kentucky the edge here, Jim. So I sort of understand both of those movements on side and total.
Yeah, a little bit surprised that Auburn has actually not been as heavy tilted to against the spread at home versus road. They're only 6-9 against the spread at home at Auburn Arena, and on the road they are 6-4.
Yeah,
so
right.
Actually somewhat better competing on the road. I just think this version of Kentucky is the solved riddle. They have figured out that Cason Wallace needs to be the lead ball handler. They're figuring out the right times to feed Shibwe. And Chris Livingston has really emerged as that kind of like ferocious wing defender, but also chases down offensive rebounds, scored double digits in 4 of the last 5. I think he's been a big difference maker for them, his ascension. So I lean towards Kentucky here, even at 5. I think Big Blue Nation gets it done at Rupp.
Yeah. Worth noting, Kai, real quick, 2-point difference, Ken Palm. I don't know if you guys mentioned this, sorry. 72-70 at Ken Palm, up to 5 in the market. One of these later season big discrepancies you have on marquee games where I think odds makers may be taking too much of a adjustment. Market might be getting too overzealous. I don't know.
Maybe. There's been a lot of these lately.
Could be
like 3 points off Ken Palm. It's wild.
Usually personnel. It could mean CJ Frederick is back. It could mean Severe Wheeler is also back. Maybe not. It could be Auburn's lost 4 straight games on the road. And despite being 6-4 against the spread, they're 4-6 straight up on the road. So they have not really gotten it done away from home. And Kentucky's looked a lot better recently. I sort of lean towards Kentucky as well at 5.5. Agreed. It's getting pretty high. So probably nothing official there. All right. Chat Mob Part 2. Let's do it.
All right. We're going to quick do the 11 a.m. tips, 11 Central. Kai, that means you get UConn minus 7.5 at St. John's. That's been asked about. Big road revenge potential here for the Huskies after they lost at home the first game.
Yeah, kind of feel like they smash them. That's my gut there. I think UConn is pretty close to being back,
UConn.
like scary UConn that we saw earlier this season. Yep.
Matthew, Clemson at NC State. Wolfpack laying 6. They have been cooking, especially at home lately. Great atmospheres there at PNC. They keep going against Clemson, who's trying to get back into the NCAA tournament consideration picture.
Yeah, number felt high to me, but I think this is a super high scoring game. So if you get this in the 160s, -6 will play more like -4. And from that lens, I feel like the number is about right with that adjustment. And market believes it'll be high scoring too. Bet from 147 up to 151. But yeah, no action on the side for me.
And then I'm going to sneak in one of my best bets here just because the game is tipping soon. Creighton -2.5, taking them at Villanova. I know that Villanova is playing a lot better of late, but Creighton off that tough loss at home to Marquette, I think they're still the better team, plenty to play for them as well. And their lack of depth is not going to hurt against Villanova's tempo. They play very slow. Creighton only playing 5 guys isn't going to be a big problem there. So I like the Blue Jays on the road -2.5. One of my best bets. We'll get to the rest shortly. All right, lot of chat mob here, so rapid fire, fellas. Matt, Arizona State at Arizona. Wildcats laying 12 in Tucson.
Last year, the year before, I would take Arizona State. Feel like they usually play U of A close, but I think the version of U of A we're starting to see emerge now is too good to fade. So no action here for me.
From Jay Letterman, Montana, Sacramento State, total question under. Yes, definitely. I took this in the circuit contest. It's been bet down. 51 possessions in the first game. 51. That is almost North Texas, Charlotte-esque with that pathetic tempo. So certainly like the under there. Kai, Vermont is laying 2.5 at Bryant in the America East. Vermont has clinched the title. Questions about the side or the total here, so take this in whatever direction you like.
Man, I kind of lean towards Bryant. It feels like a hype spot for them. And they're certainly talented enough to win this game. And like you said, Vermont's clinched the America East. There's really nothing significant for them to play for except just winning a competitive game. I lean towards Bryant a little bit at 2.5.
Matthew, San Francisco's headed to BYU after a ridiculous shootout against Portland the other night. That seems like tough travel to me. BYU laying 6. Are you riding with the Cougs?
No action. And BYU's lost 4 straight too, but they haven't played terribly. Just got caught in a good schedule and in a tough spot at Pepperdine to start that losing streak off. I think numbers about right. I kind of like over. I feel like there's a ton of points. I think you just kind of parlay that momentum of scoring that the Dons had last time out. 150. I like the over.
All right, from Ibrahim Kai, Oral Bob is at South Dakota State. Perhaps the last chance for someone to beat Oral Roberts in this conference. Do you think they get it done? Spread, sorry, I don't have offhand. Oral Roberts laying 5.
5, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not fading Oral Roberts. It's a fantastic spot for South Dakota State. They are good enough to compete with Oral Roberts, but they have not proved it this year. Injuries have decimated this team all season. It's been sad for the Bunnies. So I lean Oral or nothing.
You always do. All right. Kai, right back to you.
Yeah.
From Dennis Parker, Furman at Samford. Game 4, the SoCon title here. Winner gets the 1 seed. Samford wins outright if they win. Furman's taking a little bit of money, -1 now. What do you think in this one?
I'm rooting for the Paladins, man. Obviously, we have futures on them. That's the main reason. But I think they're better than Samford, too. And it's really confusing, Jim, the efforts that we've seen from Furman sometimes. Losing to Citadel, I don't really get it. They have the best 2 players on the floor. For my money, they have the best coach in the league in Bob Ritchie. I think they can win this game. I think they will win this game.
Yeah, barely beat ETSU, barely beat Mercer. I don't know if they were looking ahead to this game or what, but really, really strange performances.
Conference tournament's all that matters for this team. I think they're looking ahead of the conference tournament. That's my concern.
Yeah, but they get the 1 seed, though. It helps a lot.
You get to the NIT, too. Also, whether that matters to them or not. But all right, Matt, Donovan Hill asking about Dartmouth at Penn. Quakers laying 10 against the Big Green.
Feels a little high for a team that's already kind of locked up their postseason berth. And we don't have the updated data on road Ivy teams, but they have been tremendous this season. I think I'm looking to take the Big Green in sort of a sleepy spot, fading Penn.
I think the only thing is Dartmouth's been brutal lately without Kate Haskins in the lineup. That's the only thing. Last 2 games, they've been poor.
I didn't think he was that important, but yeah, I guess they've been pretty bad. I still think it's too high.
Yeah, tend to lean towards road or double-digit dogs in the Ivy.
Just the bigger dogs, right?
Yeah. Kai from Wonka Dog, he asked about East Carolina, Houston, but specifically the team total for East Carolina, which to me, I don't really know how they're scoring against Houston without Javon Small. He liked the over, though. I don't know. Do you have any take on that game? You don't have to talk that team total.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the team total even is, but
55.5, sorry.
55.5. I don't know. Every time you think Houston, there's no way they can cover that spread. They can cover the spread. They're the best team in the country. I lean towards Houston, I guess.
Matt from the Paris, a total out in the Big Sky, Northern Arizona and Northern Colorado, sitting 150 right now. Northern Arizona doesn't play fast, but they also don't play defense. So what do you think?
Yeah, that's the problem with NIU. I think I was on a few unders the last few weeks with them, and just the lack of defense screwed me with them. So I have no involvement in the total. The side feels about right too. -5, Bears at home. Like I maybe lean their way, but nothing strong.
Kai, let's tag team this one. Youngstown, IUPUI, total 149. Total is way higher than the first game, but the first game had 180 points. I still like the over. I think both teams can score efficiently. IUPUI has been an over juggernaut lately. And for the spread, Mr. McEwen.
I like IUPUI +15. Now they got absolutely slaughtered in the first matchup. It was like 104-75 or something like that. But Youngstown was at home. They played much better at home. IUPUI, I think now is, I want to say 11-3 against the spread the last 14 games.
Yep.
Keep riding you, ooey pooey.
All right, Matt, Florida Atlantic, your Owls, as you are wearing the shirt, winning in paradise. They're hosting UTEP. We mentioned games that are way off of KenPom. That KenPom has Florida Atlantic -15 here, and it is 11-12 now in the market. What gives?
Market likes UTEP, and I understand why I like UTEP too. They've been undervalued for most of the year. Even though their KenPom ranking hasn't really changed, they've been a profitable betting team. So you're right, the market quite hasn't, or KenPom hasn't quite caught up, I guess, with the market there. I still love my Owls, Jimbo. At home, I have deja vu of when I was at the La Tech game, laying a similar number. I think the better play is first half. They made the starting lineup switch last game. They're starting their best players. I think they come out and continue that demolition derby that they put on, who they just beat 2 days ago. UTSA by 1 million, whatever. They beat someone by 50. Doesn't matter. I think they keep it going today.
Yeah, I think it was UTSA. All right, Matt, right back to you, actually. Princeton at Harvard from Scott H. This is a pick'em in the Ivy League. Harvard is, I think, cannot make the postseason now. Princeton playing for the top seed. What do you got?
Oh, I thought Harvard had to win to stay alive. Like this is their do or
Then
die.
it is desperation.
I think it is desperation. Let me confirm. Chat mod, please audit me on that. I don't want to get out a stale take.
Yeah, you're right.
And for that reason, I guess I'm staying away. Otherwise, I'd take Princeton. I just think I like the coaching mismatch. And again, the road team tends to have some value in the Ivy. But that motivational split, stay away.
Kai, in the ACC, you behind the scenes told me you might have just bet a Pitt seed line prop, but now in the actual games, they are laying 6 against Syracuse. Any take on this particular game?
Not particularly, no. I think the line's about right. I didn't take any side here.
Okay, West Virginia at Kansas coming in best bets, which we should speed through. So one-word answers here now. Matthew, Southern minus 5.5 at Bethune-Cookman.
Pass. I like both teams.
All right. Kai, Rhode Island at Fordham. Fordham laying 8.5 at Rose Hill Gym.
Rhode Island's terrible on the road. Fordham's good at home. Rhode Island without Freeman, I lean towards Fordham, even though it seems pretty high.
So you should call them Home Island.
Home Island is where they belong. The Ryan Center.
I like Rhodey. Disagree. Sorry.
Okay. Matt, from the Ivy again here. Brown, 9.5-point favorites at Columbia.
It feels a little too high, but I get the motivation, right? Even motivated road favorite. Brown needs this game today. Columbia, kind of a lame duck. Season's basically done for them. I understand the money. 9.5, that was no bargain. I wouldn't take it at this price.
I saw some questions about Florida at Vandy. I really like Vandy there. I don't think the full amount of Castleton's absence is baked in there. So Vandy minus 3.5, still like it. Kai, Cornell plus 7.5 at Yale. This spread would have been unfathomable a couple weeks ago, but is it too big?
Yeah. Sheesh. Yeah, it's too big. I lean towards Cornell. I don't know their personnel situation. They might still have a guy out or two, but too high. Cornell is right in that mix as well with the other Ivy teams fighting for their life. So yeah, lean their way.
Nazir Williams has come back, so I think they're back close to healthy.
Huge. Yep.
Kai, right back to you. Your SLU Billikens are hosting Chicago's A-10 team, Loyola Chicago. It is an 11.5-point spread at Chaifetz Arena.
Feels a little high. SLU they just don't have the juice, man. I was really rooting for this team this season. They've let me down several times now. Loyola not playing as poorly recently. I think 11 points is a lot. Travel is driving to Chicago or driving to St. Louis from Chicago. Not bad at all.
Yeah, not bad. I saw Ethan W's question about UNC Greensboro and East Tennessee State. This spread felt high to me with ETSU a lot healthier, but UNCG has a chance to clinch or not clinch. They could share the league title if they win and Furman wins. So I think there's plenty of incentive for them. I ended up staying away. Matt, Loyola Maryland, they are a 1-point home favorite against American, another spread that would have been kind of unthinkable like a month ago. Any thoughts on this game?
Wow, really? I watched this. I'm going to bet American after the show. I don't care what the form is. American's better. They're just better. They made Loyola Maryland look like mincemeat first matchup. Americans, they're good. They're just, I think, kind of getting this sleepy pre-conference tournament mode. They'll be fine. Good team.
There you go. All right. That is pretty much it. Ibrahim, Matt, Loyola Marymount, and Pepperdine. Pepperdine at home. Do we like them there, or is OMU just better?
We just like the over, Jim. I think we like both offenses is kind of where I'm leaning there.
Perfect. Okay. Best bets. Kai, going to you to lead off.
All right. Reminder of my best bet. It's Arkansas plus 8.5. I'm joining the masses. Just because everyone likes it doesn't mean it's a bad bet. Arkansas plus 8.5, Jim.
Love it. I already gave Creighton minus 2.5 tips in 2 minutes. And I'm also going with Akron, Western Michigan under 137.5. The only teams in this league that like playing in the half court. I think that kind of has a doubling effect against each other, not totally captured in the numbers here. First game was like 118 total points, a grind. I think we see another game like that between the Zips and the Chippewas. Matthew.
West Virginia, take me home to cover town, but first half only. Taking the Fighting Bob Huggins, catching 5 in the first stanza against Kansas. Kansas has been a juggernaut in the second half. We've seen the runs they can put on teams, and West Virginia has been known to blow leads. I think it's a great spot, kind of a sleepy, catchy, or sleepy spot for West Virginia to catch KU, kind of one of those home lulls that we've seen them do a few times this year. So I think they keep it close first half. Plus 5, best bet.
All right, that does it, folks. Thank you for joining us once again on our Field of 68 Best Bet Show, presented by BetRivers. We are off again on Sunday. We are back on Monday, which I believe is the kickoff to conference tournament season. The A-Sun has games that day in their tournament. So stay tuned for that one. That is at noon Central on Monday. Good luck with your bets this weekend. And, of course, have a great weekend.